how much pressure does that put on Modest Buzelis and Noah Esengue to develop? And that's the overarching thing here that we have to see. I think overall, the development of Modest Buzelis is hugely important to where the Bulls can go. We know that. And, I've said many times before, the Bulls can't afford to keep missing on first-round picks. Now that is Noah, that is Modest Buzelis at where we stand right now. Those are our two most recent first-round picks. You can't get it wrong with those guys. But if the Bulls were to lock in Josh Giddey, Kobe, and Ayo, and then you, like I said, that locks you into, you basically have 9 to 10 players then under contract. You're looking at guys like Noah. You're looking at guys like Modest. And it puts an even more emphasis on why you got to develop these guys right. And that's what goes to Dan Craig and Wes Unseld. You locked yourself into this coaching staff, which, okay, you had your problems with. But when you fired Peter Patton, but you have two coaches that have been heads of player development in Wes Unseld, in Dan Craig, it puts an emphasis on why development is so important with the stage that the Bulls are at right now. Development is hugely important in that. And you look at these guys and you don't want to have to force them to do too much too early. That's something that Billy Donovan has talked about. That's something that Modest Buzelis even talked about. He talked about his frustration with not getting minutes early, but then he kind of understood the game plan that was there. And I do think there was structure in that, right? But if you go forward into locking yourself into a nice chunk of this roster, 9 players on this roster going forward into the future for the most part, that means that you're seeing these guys as pieces that their development can push your team up further, right? Because while I do think Josh Giddey's 22 years old, he still has time to develop. Kobe and Ayo, they have time to. It's more refinement for them than still developing, and I think that comes with them knowing the roles year after year. But you're looking at Noah and Modest Buzelis, because if both these guys turn into high-level NBA starters, much less borderline stars or whatever you want to talk about, then that's what increases your ceiling of your team. And so while I don't expect the Bulls to be huge free agent destinations by the summer of 2026, maybe that changes if Noah and Modest does hit, right? If they both do develop at the rate that we hope that they can, sure. Your hope then is that somebody wants to come play with these motherfuckers, right? So you hope for that in the case of this. And so I think in looking at this and trying to taking a step back and just looking at it from the business aspect, this is me removing my love of these players or whatever else. I would not be surprised if Kobe, Ayo, and Josh Giddey, none of those guys signed full 5-year deals. I would not be surprised on that. And the reason being is that as Noah and Modest develop, and you have to also get ready for their extensions, which you got to while out for that. They got to go through restricted free agency. But if those two guys do hit and you do lock yourself into those contracts, you probably want to leave yourself a little bit of wiggle room